Welcome back. So let's get into what we heard today in the Joint Portfolio Committee sitting. That's the Portfolio Committees for Police and Justice. The National Coloured Congress MP, Fadil Adams, claims that KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi held a briefing because he knew that he was up for arrest. He adds that Mkhwanazi knew what was coming.
How is it that we're talking about the lie, the alleged lie that Minister Nkunu told the police portfolio regarding his relationship with Brown? But the National Commissioner could lie about the brigadier that they brought from BMW. How is this okay? Why are we targeting certain people as Parliament? We are eulogizing General Mkhwanazi. I, as the complainant in the charges against those 7 generals, when this portfolio called me a madman before they were arrested, I, as the complainant, am connecting the dots. That staged press conference with a general who now seeks additional protection, who had what looked like an armed militia behind him, it was a threat to this country. Let us call it what it is. He was trying to incite policemen to take action in the event of whatever it is that he knew was coming. Let me tell this committee what I suspect was coming. As the accounting officer for the South African Police Services, I suspect that the National Commissioner himself is up for arrest. And that press conference was nothing more than a preemptive move. And the country appears to have fallen for it. General Mkhwanazi must appear before this committee. The National Commissioner must appear before this committee. The IDAC must appear before this committee. General Khumalo, General Lushabo must come and sit in front of this committee. And I want to appeal and actually ask that we make it a recommendation that every member of this committee that has ever met with any law enforcement or investigative body or given them a statement or had a conversation must come clean and tell us what he said. I will be the first. I know Honorable James has had that conversation. I have a suspicion there are a few more other people that are hiding things within this committee. Now, in order to clean out the service, we must all be honest. We can't demand accountability from the boys in blue and hide things right here.
Yeah, quite an interesting perspective there from the National Coloured Congress in that joint sitting of the Portfolio Committees of Police and Justice. But we are joined now by the members of Parliament of various political parties that were represented in that sitting. We're joined by the ANC's Mr. Oscar Matafa. From the EFF, we have Mr. Eugene Mtetwa, MKP's Swanelo Nomvalo, as well as the DA's Lisa Marie Schikkeling. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on a day that I guess is another development on top of the Mkhwanazi claims just 10 days ago. I do want to start with you, Mr. Matafa. One of the things that we watched in that sitting today, and I have to say, the country is watching this very closely because there is so much investment in what has been alleged by the KZN Police Commissioner. And there was a lot of back and forth in that sitting about the tone that is used by members of Parliament. Now, we remember that some of these allegations speak to involvement of members of Parliament as well. I mean, I remember at some point a conversation around we've wasted so much time antagonizing one another in this sitting. So I think before we actually get into the outcomes of that sitting, if you think that this is going to be a progressive process with members of Parliament all working towards one singular goal.
Hi, good evening, Naledi, viewers at home and fellow panelist members. I think it will be progressive. If you were watching, you'd remember my input. I started first by reminding us why we were there. And the purpose of today's meeting was not even to go into the merits, was to advise Parliament in terms of how they should move forward in getting to the bottom of the truth. And as the ANC, we have decided that for now, we are not taking any one side, be the accuser or the accused. We are taking the side of the people, and the people of this country are very clear. They want action. They want to get to the bottom of what is really happening and to feel safe as a country. And the one way of them feeling safe is to establish the truth. And if it happens that out of the truth that will uncover we find that there are rogue elements in the police, in parliament, in the judiciary, in the magistracy. Action must be taken to root out those particular rogue elements so that we are all safe and the rule of law takes supreme.
Yeah. Let's bring in Lisa from the Democratic Alliance. Lisa, the resolution here to establish an ad hoc committee, is the DA agreeing with that resolution, and, you know, the pros and cons of going that direction in Parliament for the Democratic Alliance?
Thank you so much, Naledi, and good evening to you and all the viewers and the other panelists. The DA definitely welcomes this crucial step of forming the ad hoc committee, because Parliament must act decisively when this integrity of our law enforcement institutions are under threat, which they clearly are from all the information we've received. These allegations from within the SAPS's senior ranks are too serious to ignore. And we're talking about claims of political interference, internal sabotage, and even corruption within the SAPS leadership, which is incredibly concerning. If these are left unchecked, this threatens the very foundation of our criminal justice system. And we see these failures on a daily basis. The problem is that South Africans have lost faith in the SAPS, and this inquiry is an opportunity for all of us to start rebuilding this trust by showing that even the most powerful in the police service can be held to account.
Okay. We'll unpack more of what that ad hoc committee then needs to look like moving forward. But I want to bring in the voices of other political parties. Let's go to Mr. Nhlanhla of the MKP. Some contestation in that sitting about the role of the judicial inquiry as announced by the president, and how that happens concurrently or is outweighed, if you will, by the process that is taking place in Parliament. And I think it was an important point that was made around how the executive must be reminded that it accounts to Parliament. So, and that, of course, including the president. So are you in support of an ad hoc committee, and what do you make as the MKP on this approach of also having the judicial inquiry also taking place?
Yeah, good evening, and good evening to the viewers at home. Our initial view was that, in fact, we differed on the modalities, because our initial view was that the joint committee, which was instructed by the Speaker of Parliament to advise Parliament on the way forward or on the approach that it can take to resolve this matter, our view was that it must be responsible of a fact-finding process. And then the other members of the committee were saying that we must establish an ad hoc committee. But in principle and primarily, both modalities, their objective is to get into the bottom of the matter, and their objective is to find facts, what happened. So they just differ on technicalities and on the formation. But we do agree ultimately with the formation of the ad hoc committee, and we believe that there will be no undue political influence, because we've seen committees of that nature previously being abused by politicians. And we're saying, as the opposition party in Parliament, we're going to make sure that we guide, we protect its integrity. Now, with regards to the commission of inquiry, we do not have confidence in the commission of inquiry, considering the fact that commission of inquiries have been established previously in this country. And we always regard them as an academic exercise, because in most instances, they do not yield any positive results. I can make a typical example with the Morane Commission, for instance, in KZN, which was tasked to investigate political killings. How many people, how many perpetrators have been arrested because of that commission? None. So it was just wasteful expenditure. And that is a case, notwithstanding the fact that they requested for an extension, and requesting for an more funds, who preside over these, they bill the state. So the state will have to pay for them for something that is not going to yield any positive and constructive results. So we don't have confidence in the commission of inquiry. we do believe that Parliament at this time around is going to be sober enough. It will discharge its constitutional responsibilities without any fear or favor or prejudice.
Yeah, that's interesting because you talk about no fear, favor or prejudice. Mr. Eugene Mthethwa, you were able to get quite a bit of a reaction, I think, from South Africans with a point that you made. And I do want to start that point off with this. As we started the discussion, we played you that clip from the National Coloured Congress's Fadil Adams, who says that why are we targeting certain people as Parliament, saying that he feels that there is motivation behind Mkhwanazi's coming forward. And there's a sense that Mkhwanazi came forward and shared some of the revelations that he did as a way of protecting himself. But at the same time, that he then said that you at some point took the podium, and I want to quote, you said, should anything happen to Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the country will see fire. What did you mean by that?
May I say good evening first and foremost, and
Sure,
good
thank
evening
you.
to your viewers. You would agree that it takes so much courage to do what General Mkhwanazi did. And ordinary South Africans are identifying themselves with what General Mkhwanazi did because they've been trying to report cases, they've been trying to get police to do the right things. But now they are realizing that this is not just at the front desk where things are not happening. The road is from the top. Now, I'm saying because ordinary people as we speak, they are picketing on the streets and saying hands off Mkhwanazi. We cannot take these things light. We should be alerted to the ticking time bomb that we see happening on the streets. So if anything, everybody is expecting that, maybe Mkhwanazi might be silenced by being killed. And if that happened, I can tell you, I'm not inciting any hatred or any violence, but I can tell you that that's what's going to happen on the streets. That's what's going to happen. So we can't be naive and act naive as if we are not aware of what is happening. Besides, as Parliament, we have a responsibility to take accountability. We are standing there or sitting there on behalf of the public, ordinary South Africans. And we are the voices and the eyes of the people. We represent them. So whatever that they do, whatever that they say on the streets, it's what we should convey to the executive to say that you are not doing your job correctly. People are saying this, and we are just voicing what people are saying. So for people to think that I am inciting violence, I think it misses the point, because even in my statement, when I start, I said that in view of what is happening on the streets, I see a ticking time bomb. Is that wrong?
That's not for me to decide, Mr. Mthethwa. I want to hear your perspective, and that perhaps we'll leave to our viewers to decide as well. But I will take calls 0105946010. Your thoughts on how members of Parliament have started to debate today, how an ad hoc committee will be set up, and really the modalities, as they say, of how that ad hoc committee will deal with the allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Let's hear from Temba in Bedford View. Temba, good evening. Thank you for calling.
Good evening, listeners, and all the viewers at home.
Sure, talk to us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to come on air.
Yes, go ahead.
Good South Africans, it's taken a long time for this Mkhwanazi to expose all this. We applaud him for such bravery, because some of us, we've seen these things happening. I will talk for General Sibiya. General Sibiya is well known in the circle of Joburg. He's a well-known revolving himself around criminals. Go back 2013, 2011, 2010, when he was still at Johannesburg Stock Exchange, you'd find him sitting with Rhoda van Kletcher, the criminal who is now sitting in Hosmampuru in Pretoria, sitting next to him, having tea, having coffee. somebody who's a fugitive and he's a police officer. So what I'm trying to say is you can go back to all the officers that he was working with at Stock Exchange. The former General Mboto, who's now currently in Durban, Alfred Libya, who is now at RMTC, all those guys, they will tell you, go back and dig deep.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
back and dig deep.
All right, Temba.
And some of the issues that made that guy to go to jail is because he did not want to pay them anymore. If South Africans can go back and ask to go and interview some of these criminals that are fed up, they will tell you about General Sibia.
Temba, let me do this because I'm going to let you go, and I think you've made a really interesting point. Let's go back and look at the track record. Perhaps what we do after we come back from this short break is ask this ad hoc committee, who's on their wish list of who they call to come forward and give their side of the story. On the other side of this, stay with us. Welcome back. We continue to speak to members of Parliament who today came out of that joint sitting of the two portfolio committees of Justice and Police as they discuss a way forward on how they will deal with the allegations made by the police commissioner in KZN, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, resolving to form an ad hoc committee that will call various role players to hear their version of events. And I do need to put this forward just in light of the comments made by our caller before the break, Temba Bedford View, some allegations put forward there. And I need to remind our viewers that these are not the views of the channel, but certainly the views of our callers. We'll take one more. Megan is in Durban. Megan, good evening. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Naledi. Good evening to the panel and the viewers as well.
Sure.
I just want to get straight into it.
Yeah.
I want to respond to the chap from the EFF who said that he felt that things may escalate. And I do actually agree with him because I don't feel that the action taken by the president was sufficient in light of the seriousness of the allegations. I know the previous caller did have a lot of political information. I'm not privy to all of those things. But I do feel just generally as a citizen that the president's reaction was very mild considering the temperature of the allegations and, you know, the climate in which we live. We want to see justice. We want to see things running as they should. We as taxpayers, you know, citizens, we want to see things operating smoothly in South Africa. And I just don't feel that he had the reaction that I expected as a very strong president. And so I do support the development of the ad hoc committee. I don't support any inquiries and commissions, etc. As everybody says, it's been wasteful expenditure. No results come out of it. So I do agree that things may escalate because we as citizens on the ground feel frustrated.
Okay, Megan, thank you so much for that. Let's take a look at a couple WhatsApps as well. And I'll get a response from our panel to the points made by our callers. Gianni Shibambu in Midrand says, the formation of this committee will run parallel to the commission of inquiry announced by the president. It is a good thing because it's more likely they might reach the same conclusions and come out with the same findings. It's the step in the right direction. Okay, Mr. Shibambu, thank you so much for that. Brian Williams says the ad hoc committee is time consuming and that's what the objective of the president is for this revelation to cool down and become another Zondo commission. So sad. Mr. Nomvalo from the MKP, we've seen in the past few days your party leading a few marches in KZN, for instance, where we saw people gather very much in support of the KZN police commissioner. Megan says things may escalate. Eugene Mtetwa says this is not incitement of violence, but he even uses the word, this is a ticking time bomb on the ground for South Africans. Is that a concern for you as you organize these marches, that we may run into something that gets perhaps overheated at some point, and what are we doing to control that?
Yeah, no, remember that the allegations that have been made by General Mkhwanazi have not just been made by an ordinary citizen or a lay person. They have been made by a police officer who has a statutory obligation to do investigations and arrests. So that alone gives confidence to the fact that they are not just spurious allegations, but there are allegations which are backed up by evidence. That is why we do have confidence that if these allegations can be tested, then they are going to open our eyes and they are going to reveal many things which are happening, many shenanigans which are happening in this country while we are sleeping. So our support to General Mkhwanazi is on those bases, but we are supporting a twofold approach. The first one is that the police must arrest those who are implicated. The investigations must continue in the police department, and those who are implicated must be arrested. Meanwhile, this process is unfolding here in Parliament of the ad hoc
But the
committee.
question I'm asking you, Mr. Nhlanhla, if you let me interrupt, is the point that was made by a caller and even by Eugene Mthethwa of the temperature of marches, if you're watching that
Yes.
and concerned about
I am
it.
going there.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going there. I'm saying those observations are scientific, and they are based on the fact that if you remember, leading to the July unrest, there are some questions which were made, but they were ignored. Because here we're talking about a police officer who has a responsibility to investigate, and surely the public is going to take him seriously because he's a police officer at the end of the day. And if whatever he brings to us to assist the investigation is ignored, that surely will invite protest. And we don't know, the protests sometimes take their own directions because they are driven by anger. So
Okay.
it is highly possible.
Yeah, that's a big statement. Mr. Matafa, let me bring this one to you. Your thoughts on what is being discussed here around the temperature of things on the ground, but I also want to move one step forward and add another thought. Last night on this channel, we had a conversation with the Deputy Police Commissioner, Shadrack Sibiya, and he talked about wanting a platform to put his side of the story on the table. So is that something that you think this ad hoc committee should do? And if you will, the wish list of who is called to speak?
Most definitely, Naledi, and that is where I would have wanted to start in responding to the points that were made by the callers, as well as the responses by my fellow panelists. As public reps, one of our key responsibilities is to educate society. It can't be that the president or the police should just arrest anyone that an allegation is made against. I will give a simple example. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi says, I have 5 dockets with instructions to arrest. However, I just cannot get the signature from the prosecutions, referring to the NPA. What General Mkhwanazi is saying is that all our actions should be grounded on the rule of law. Now, in his submission, he says, we are so infiltrated that all the 3 arms of government are compromised. Why we support the action by the president by choosing a retiring judge and electing a member who's not in the cabinet or in parliament to become an acting minister is to move away from those 3 arms that are compromised and create a platform that Deputy Commissioner Sibiya is seeking for. The ad hoc committee will support other institutions like the Public Protector and the Judicial Commission of Inquiry in creating that platform so that these allegations can be tested. And once they are tested and sufficient evidence has been adduced, arrest can happen. As you would have known, the president, in his terms of reference, he would have alluded to the fact that where evidence is sufficient in the duration of the Judicial Commission, it must be referred for prosecution. The 5 cases, when presented to the Judicial Commission by General Mkhwanazi, shows that indeed the NPA did not do what is expected of them to sign off the arrest warrants. They must be acted upon. And those that neglected their responsibilities must fall on the sword. So we support every process, Naledi, that will be grounded on the rule of law so that we do not embarrass the country or the government where people are arrested and those actions are to be found unlawful and illegal. And you know what the Constitution says. Anything that is against the Constitution must be set aside. And the president took a very cautious approach. The parliament is taking a very cautious approach to establish a platform that anyone who can assist can bring those particular evidence forward. I will be excited to sit with General Mkhwanazi so that we are able to get to the bottom of these allegations, to test them and uproot those that are found in the wrong as far as our justice system is concerned.
Yeah, Lisa Schikkeling of the DA, of course, also joining us on the line. Your ideal list of people that you think should be called to give evidence or their side of the story to this ad hoc committee?
Thank you so much, Naledi. So, I mean, we must be realistic. South Africans are watching this process very closely, and they don't want more commissions and broken promises. They actually want real accountability, which is something we will be fighting for. I think the first person that we need to call in front of the committee will obviously be Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, because he is the primary whistleblower in this case, and he's central to all the allegations. Of course, I would like to see the National Police Commissioner, General finalised there, and some former National Police Commissioners. We must also remember that this doesn't just go, it's not just about the SAPs. There are other independent oversight bodies that must be called, like IPID. It's important that IPID comes to account to the committee. Remember, they can share case files with us, current investigations, complaints that they've received from the SAPS leadership, and obviously about the SAPS leadership. The public protector, I think somebody that's incredibly important to come and account in front of this committee is Sira. If any SAP's private security collusion is taking place, we would like to know what's going on there, because there's a whole focus that we have to shift away from just one person. I understand, and I mean, as I said, General Mkhwanazi is the primary whistleblower. But if you look at it holistically, there are so many officials that will have to come and account us, and we want this commission to be done as quick as possible. So I don't think we should let it take longer than maybe 3 months, but it is going to be a lot of work, and we would like a lot of people, if they have information, to contact us. I mean, all of the members of this committee get calls daily about corruption that is taking place within the SAPS or within the judiciary. And it's important for these people to come forward, and we will treat them as whistleblowers, and we will make sure that they are protected. It's also very important for me to emphasize that under the rule of law and the Constitution of South Africa, every person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And it will be this committee's role to establish facts and assess evidence in a fair, impartial, and lawful manner without any prejudice or premature conclusions.
Yeah. I do need to take a break, but I want to give that same question to the EFF's Mr. Eugene Mtetwa, and then afterwards we'll talk about terms of reference. What do those need to look like on the other side of the stage? Welcome back. So, members of Parliament resolving today to set up an ad hoc committee to look into the allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. We continue to hear from the various parties represented about what it is that they want to see this ad hoc committee do. Just before the break there, we didn't get an opportunity to hear your view, Mr. Eugene Mtetwa of the EFF, on who you'd like to see come forward and give evidence to the ad hoc committee. Quite the list that Lisa had: former commissioners, public protectors, Sira. Anyone that you want to add to that list?
Well, General Mkhwanazi did this publicly and mentioned names. He did not mince his words. He even went further to say he has evidence. So I think he's the first person that we must have access to in terms of the committee. But also the minister, the former minister, or the suspended minister, he has a case to answer to. Apart from his association with, apart from what General Mkhwanazi said, he has a situation where he has committed statutory offense where he lied about his relationship with a certain individual. That is not questionable. It's not something that we are saying it needs to be investigated. It is there. It is there. He has a case to answer. So we would really need him, and obviously General Sibiya is also one of those people that we would want to see within the committee, coming to the committee to present their cases. And I must also I want to emphasize the fact that it must have taken so much courage for General Mkhwanazi to say what he did or to do what he did, publicly so. He has dared his life to do that. We know we have a history in our country of policemen, good policemen disappearing because they were trying to fight crime, even within the system. So for us, we cannot be allowed to doubt what General Mkhwanazi has said. One compelling element in terms of why we should be we should not even doubt him. It is he has gone through the ranks of police, holding increasingly senior positions. That's authority on its own that we need to believe. So I'm going to close this by saying we are General Mkhwanazi, and General Mkhwanazi is us, because we are regardless of us being members of parliament, we are also citizens in this country. We know the challenges that we are faced with when we go to the police station and your case is you are not even allowed to open a case.
Right.
We know the situation that we are going through, and this will help this country to rectify the things that have gone wrong for too long.
I'm running out of
Corruption
time.
is one of the things.
I'm running out of time, Mr. Mteto. I'm going to give you 30 seconds for this. And this is your last one. So 30 seconds on your input on terms of reference for this ad hoc committee as a party.
Well, we haven't thought about the terms of reference, but that we should discuss as a committee, because it is a multi-party formation. The committee is not one single-handed, but the terms of reference, it is to look into the allegations. Part of that, it is to look into the allegations, test the allegations, and make sure that those who are implicated, they end up behind bars.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Nhlanhla, terms of reference from the position of the MK party, and even if we look at the time frames that the ad hoc committee needs to be focusing on, you've got, the DA saying, let's call even former police commissioners to this committee to give evidence.
Yeah, in a nutshell, our proposition on the terms of reference is very specific. One, the investigation or the inquiry rather must be done within a very short space of time. Two, reasons for the disbandment of the political task team in KZN, because remember, KZN is a volatile province. Many comrades have died, they've been butchered for political reasons. For reasons for disbanding that task team must be established. Three, judges, because Mkhwanazi said there are judges and prosecutors who are also involved in a syndicate that is conniving with drug dealers. So it must not only end in the police, the inquiry, it must go on to also make an inquiry on the prosecutors and judges who are involved, so that we will eliminate all the rotten potatoes from the system, because the justice system in our country is a very integral part that was established to ensure that everyone is equal before the law. So in a nutshell, we will sit down and broaden the scope, but in a nutshell for now, those are the issues that we would want to form part of the terms of reference.
Okay, Lisa Schikkeling, the DA's position on terms of reference?
Thank you so much. Well, it has to be established by the committee, but I think the most important is that we've got a very clear time frame and who we would like to see. And we need proper guiding principles, because we have to act independently and impartially without fear of favor or prejudice. And we must make sure that we prioritize transparency and fairness. And obviously, the protection of whistleblowers is incredibly important, and it's going to be incredibly important going forward. And we must make sure that we always uphold the constitutional values and the rule of law. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Oscar Matafa, your final views on the submissions on terms of reference from the ANC.
Thank you, Naledi. The one that we made in today's sitting was for the ad hoc committee to be allowed the responsibility to oversight the Judicial Commission of Inquiry reports that come to Parliament. The President mentioned 3 and 6 months reports. We would want to play oversight on that so that when the final report comes, we can see consistency and see if whether they would have been responded to. 2, terms that will indicate those members in Parliament that are found to have contravened the Code of Conduct of Parliamentarians, what happens to them. 3, we need clarity on the presence of legal representation. History has taught us that where witnesses are legally represented, it tends to take or delay the process. Those are the major 3 ones that we have requested for, and we will support some of those that were made by fellow panelists, especially that it should have a specific and strict timeline.
All right. It's been such a pleasure speaking to all of you, and thank you so much for your time. We know now that the committees will, as per the statement out of today's sitting, and these committees, that's Justice and Police, will, on the 23rd of July, as per the directive from the Speaker, recommend that the National Assembly that an ad hoc committee be established to consider the matter. So I suppose we'll be watching you on the 23rd, which is next week, Wednesday. Thank you so much to our guests, Mr. Eugene Mthethwa, EFF MP, Mr. Oscar Matafa, ANC MP, Ms. Lisa Schikkeling, DA MP, and Sibonelo Nomvalo, Member of Parliament for the MKP.